pushing it to 5. They win set number 4, 25-23.
Hey, Coyote fans, we're back on the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. The South Dakota volleyball team coming off of a tough weekend on the road at Columbia, Missouri, dropping 3 matches to Louisville, Missouri, and Northern Kentucky. And here to talk about it is the head coach of the Coyotes, Leanne Williamson. Coach, I know you knew this would be a difficult trip. You play a third-ranked team in the country. You play Missouri on their home floor. And then you get that third match against Northern Kentucky, which is, for the first time, your team has played 3 consecutive days. It sets up for a tough weekend. What were your takeaways from this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, first, we want to continue to play high-level competition. It's a part of something that we have believed in as a program. It teaches us a lot about ourselves as we go into it, but we knew it was going to be difficult too. Obviously starting off with Louisville is a tough one. They're a great team, and they're physical. They're big and physical, and I think it showed some different things that, we saw against Iowa State, but maybe even at a different level. And then I felt like we did some better things against Missouri in that second match and just had a hard time doing it consistently. And when you play a team like that at that level again, you don't have room for as many errors, as many of the dips that can happen with the team. And, Northern Kentucky, we felt like we had kind of turned a corner after that second set. But both of us, were 0-2 on the weekend at that point in time. So we knew that it was going to be a challenge, and they fought back. And when they did, I think we had a hard time responding to that again. But still, we continue to get just a little bit better. I think we're just learning more about ourselves. We have people in bigger roles. But even though we're coming back without a win from this weekend, I feel like we're in a good spot in order to attack this week, get better as a team, kind of figure out some things again as we go into this weekend playing at home.
I know, obviously, the Northern Kentucky game didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, but for your team to jump out with wins in the first couple of sets after the first 2 games of the weekend, I thought said a lot about this team, because it's easy to come out a little bit dull and flat in matches like that, but this team didn't. They came out ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, they had set some keys for themselves as a team that they wanted to work on, and I did feel like we saw those couple things early on in those first 2 sets. And I think even the second set was something that I was really happy with, because we were ahead. They made a push, I think tied it up at about 20 in the second set, and it would have been easy for us to kind of, roll over. And we pushed back and we stayed patient, and when we had that opportunity to finally win the game, I felt like we played at a high level there. Obviously there's always that disappointment of how you come back, but I just feel like there's very few matches, especially during this preseason, that are going to be finished in 3. When we're playing teams that are similar to us, we have to be able to play through 3, 4, 5 sets. And even though we didn't come out with the win in the 5th set, I think it again is a great experience for our team to see what it takes to win in those 5th sets. And that's something that we had last year. We were lucky enough to win a lot of those, but when you get into a 5th set, anything can happen.
Madison Harms, who we'll talk to coming up in just a little bit on the Coyote Volleyball Show, 21 kills in that third match, in that 5-set match against Northern Kentucky. A little bit tough going in the first 2 days. It seemed like those 2 opponents kind of tried to play defense against her and put some pressure on players like Evelyn and Kylan.
Yeah, Madison, I think, was a little bit frustrated just with those first couple matches. One, the length in front of her is obviously a difficult thing, but our connection with our setters just weren't great that day. And we were out of system a lot. They both Louisville and Mizzou served the ball very well and took Madison out at times of our offensive scheme. So going into the third match, I knew she was very determined to kind of be able to right herself where she could be involved at a high level. And early on, I think she's maybe even 7 for 7 or 6 for 7 in the first set. Gave her a ton of confidence. But I think what was cool about it is it's not that there weren't people in front of her. I mean, she was hitting at a high contact point. She was hitting over people into good areas of the floor. And they were keying in on her throughout the match, and it didn't really make a difference for her. She just stayed very confident and took big swings in some big moments. And that's something that she's going to be able to do throughout this season. So I thought it was really good for her to see herself have that success against a team that's going to be very similar to the teams that we see these next 2 weekends, but also through Summit League play.
You mentioned the sets to the hitters not always being maybe on time or in the right spot. And some of that, I think it's important to note, that's part of the learning curve here early on. A young setter, even though this team's worked together in fall camp and early part of the season, there's still going to be some learning and growing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think any year you come in, whether it's a veteran setter or a freshman setter, I think you're going to have that learning curve. And we always talk about offense comes. I think as you go through, you do it enough. You have to work through some of the errors that hitters make, or the connection that the setters maybe miss on. But it always comes. It always gets better. And I actually think we're still at probably a higher level than what we have been at the past at this point in time in the season. But we just haven't seen the results. We haven't seen the wins in the win column. So I think at times there's that frustration part. So some of it is on us as coaches to keep them calm, keep them in the present, and just make sure that we continue to trust that process of getting just a little bit better in not only every area, but the connection as well.
Obviously, you're always looking at the film from the matches that you play and some of that. Do you take more out of tough matches like Louisville and Missouri and the way those went, or the match like on Sunday where your team gets up by a couple and obviously disappointed? I'm sure they'll use that going forward as a motivator. Do you take more out of a match like Sunday and the 5-setter, or more out of those other matches?
I think it's a balance. You're obviously going to take some from really good teams and what the pressure that they can put on you and the challenges that we face. But I think at the same time, you can take a lot from a team that's more similar to you and more similar to the type of teams that we're going to play within our own league. But, I think the losses, I think it's always a lot easier to find the things that you have to really get better at. But the good news is I think a lot of it is controllable, and as a coach, as frustrating as it can be, I know our team is frustrated. I know as coaches, we were frustrated this weekend, but at the same time, it's good to be able to watch back and say, that's something we can control. That's something we can control. And some of that comes with some inexperience, and with every match we play, we have more people that get more and more experience, game experience, where they have to take the big swing in the big moment. They have to, pass the ball in at game point, match point, whatever it may be. So I think a lot of it are things that we can control and things that we'll get better at with more experience.
What are a couple of things you're really looking at your team to focus on this week just to continue that progress forward?
I mean, definitely the discipline piece. And again, I think that is one that really comes with game experience, of just understanding what your role is in that moment and making sure that we're not giving people easy points because we're not in the right spot, or we didn't, maybe we're not in front of the right hitter or whatever it may be. So I do think that discipline piece is huge. I think another thing is limiting some of our errors. I think we had too many hitting errors in management type situations. And I know our attackers are good enough to score against the teams that we're playing. I just think in game situations, then we get a little bit tunnel focused instead of being able to kind of see big picture, a little bit of risk change here and there, understanding what people are trying to do against us. And if we limit some of those errors, I think we put ourselves in a better position. I think we're just giving a few too many points right now. And I think the last thing is defense. This team skill wise is good enough to be, in my opinion, probably one of the better defensive teams in the league. But I don't know if we've fully shown that full capability yet. I think we saw it in preseason. I think we struggled a little bit playing against people that we don't see every day, having to deal with other people's tendencies. And that's where that experience comes in, of just being able to work through that and learn as the match goes on, learn through film before the match even starts. And I do believe we're going to get there.
Well, hopefully a lot of it turns around this week. You finally get some home matches. We'll talk about those coming up in just a little bit. Still to come on the Coyote Volleyball Show, we'll talk about the South Dakota Classic. Coyotes will play in on Thursday and Friday. But coming up next, Madison Harms will join us. This is the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee. The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast. The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast. Back in the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee. Our guest this week is Madison Harms, the senior middle blocker from Sergeant Bluff, Iowa. Madison, how are you? I know the season 5 games in. How do you feel about things right now as your team continues to find its identity right now?
I think we're still feeling pretty good. We've had a couple close games, we've had some losses, but I think we're really learning from them, and we know that we can do better. We know that we can figure little things out. We just have to trust the process. So I think we're still feeling pretty good.
As you roll through the early part of the season, some of it is figuring out that identity. Obviously, some players left from last year. Some of you are back for this year. How much of that feel-out process do you have to go through in the early portion of the season?
Yeah, I think definitely the first few games are a process. You have to know how you'll work on the court with new players. Leadership is different. All the little things just are different, and I think that challenge presents itself every year when there's new members and people leave. So I think that we're still just working through that process right now.
You're obviously one of the veterans on this team with a lot of experience. Some of these players are playing significant time for the first time in their careers. What are you able to offer them as someone who went through that process yourself a few years ago, but now as more experienced? What can you offer them to kind of help, guide through this early part of the season?
I feel like I can really just help give them support and help them build their confidence. I just want to be their biggest cheerleader out there, and I think that when you have someone next to you that truly believes in you, that it gives you a lot more confidence to do your role well. So yeah, I just really want to try and give that to them.
5 matches in, you've played some really good competition, and you get to play a team last Friday like Louisville, number 3 team in the country, a team that obviously is very good. How cool is that? Obviously, you guys show up and you want to win and you want to perform well, but how unique is that your coaching staff puts you in a position to play some of the top teams in the country?
It's great. We love playing the big games. Obviously, we didn't come out with a win, but I think it helped us learn a lot, and playing that level of competition will only make us better.
You'll get into a routine eventually with the conference season and kind of having a day between some of those games or whatever the schedule may be. How difficult is the back-to-back and coming off this weekend, three consecutive days?
It's a little bit hard, but I think we do a good job at, we do mobility between games and we rest our bodies a little bit. So I think it's tough and long sometimes, but we handle it well.
What has been the message amongst the players so far in this part of the season as you get ready to play at home for the first time? And I know you're all excited about that, but you go through these first 5 matches. What's kind of the message just to keep this thing, learning and moving forward?
I feel like the message our team is really working towards right now is focusing on our side of the net and competing. And so coming into our home crowd, I think that it can change a lot of things for us, and it can be really special, and we just want to give the fans something to cheer for.
You get 3 matches this week at home. How excited are you to finally play in this building this year after spending the first couple of weekends on the road?
We're super excited. The atmosphere here is great. We love seeing our fans, and I think it'll also just be calming, knowing that we're in a place where we play all the time, and we have our families and fans here supporting us.
How exciting has it been for you to play Division I college volleyball close to home and play at such a high level?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I love that I'm close and my family can come to the games, or I can go home for a weekend if needed. And I think it's really special to be able to play somewhere so close to home.
When you look at the home support, you mentioned the home crowd that you guys get for your matches here. You've seen that grow in your career. What has that experience been like just to continue to watch the excitement and the support for South Dakota volleyball continue to grow?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think our fans care a lot about our success and they support us in our losses, our wins, and it just builds the program and it makes it a lot more fun to come out here and play because we have someone to play for.
Well, it's exciting. I know a lot of fans are excited to come out and see you. You get a match on Thursday, a couple on Friday. What would be your message to the fan base to get them out and come out and support not only this week, but all season long and support this team?
I would just say that their support matters a lot to us and it doesn't go unnoticed. And it really helps us. It gives us momentum in the games and it allows us to really just cheer and have fun.
Well, we'll look forward to it this week, Madison. Great stuff. Thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, that's Madison Harms, a senior middle blocker from Sergeant Bluff, Iowa. When we come back on the Coyote Volleyball Show, Coach Leanne Williamson rejoins us. We'll talk about the South Dakota Classic coming up this week and the matches ahead for for USD. This is the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast. Back in the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. We're joined by head coach Leanne Williamson as her team gets set finally to play some matches right here in the Sanford Coyote Sports Center. I know as a coach you get excited, and I know your team's darn excited to finally play some matches here, matches at home, and not be on the road. It can really take it out of you on the road.
Yeah, it can. And honestly, I think these first couple of road weekends have gone really fast, or at least for me. But I do think that just being at home, not having to get on a bus, being in front of our family and friends and fans is going to make a big difference for us. And I think if anything, it's going to give us, that little bit of boost that maybe we need to be able to kind of right the ship here as a program and find that win.
You look at the matchups in the South Dakota Classic, you're going to play Thursday night against Drake, and then on Friday you get IUPUI, an old friend of the Summit League, and on Friday night, big matchup with South Florida. You look ahead and just kind of your overall thoughts about the teams coming in to play here in the South Dakota Classic.
Yeah, I mean, we have some good quality opponents. I think starting with Drake, since I know the most about him right now, but just a very solid volleyball team. Plays the game really, really well. I think from every area on the floor, they're going to challenge us, and it's going to be a really good opportunity for us to, again, match up against somebody that has had a lot of success and is going to challenge us right away at the beginning. Both IUPUI and South Florida, haven't seen IUPUI in a few years, but I think it'll be good to get them back in here. And then South Florida, I think, is having a little bit more success this year than what they had last year, and I think it's going to be another really good challenge with some good physicality. So looking forward to bringing in another high caliber tournament to the SCSC, and again, playing at home is going to be huge.
I know that's been something that's been big for you as a head coach is being able to put together these type of tournaments and play them at home. And you couldn't do it before without this building, but now that you can, it's become an annual thing, 1 or 2 tournaments each and every year. How important is it just for your team to have that experience at home instead of being on the road every single weekend?
I mean, it's huge for us. Travel becomes very tiring, and you'd love to say that you get used to it, and I think you do to a point as the season progresses, but it's just a lot more difficult. Whether you're getting on a bus, whether you're getting on a plane, you're sleeping in a hotel, eating every meal, from a restaurant, it can wear on you a little bit. So being here, again, I think one of the biggest things is just having our family around, and then being able to sleep in our own bed, eat normal meals, I think have kind of the normalcy to it. But we have to be able to win Summit League matches at home, so being able to play here in front of our fans, get used to that environment, and take advantage of the fact that we are practicing here regularly should make a difference for us.
Every weekend you've played so far has been unique. The opening weekend, you get matches on back-to-back days. Last weekend, it was 3 straight days. Now you go into a night game, and the next day is going to be kind of that split doubleheader, if you will, with a matchup, I think, at 11 a.m., and then a night matchup against South Florida. What's the challenge when you have 2 matches in one day, kind of separated there, to keep your team, still motivated and excited to come back and fresh, if you will, for that night game?
Yeah, I mean, I even think that might be the easier of the two things. I think, playing Friday night and then coming back and playing playing Thursday night and then coming back earlier on Friday can be a challenge as well. But I think the biggest thing is we got to stay focused on each opponent. Again, be in the present. We'll focus on Drake until that match is over, and then next morning we'll come in and then focus on IUPUI. And we don't even talk about South Florida until both of those are done. So for us as coaches, obviously, we have to be a little bit more prepared than that. Being able to look ahead a little bit, but making sure that we stay in the present and focus on just each challenge in front of us.
Friday night's matchup will follow the Coyote block party. They're calling for a whiteout. It's also the banner unveiling. I know when it comes down to it, you're going to be like, let's just play volleyball, but it is important for these kids to be recognized for their accomplishments.
Yeah, I mean, I think first we've enjoyed having the Coyote block party outside, and then having people able to come in, and maybe some new people who haven't been to a volleyball game before. So hoping we can get some good people here for that whiteout, and then being able to obviously recognize last year's team and have those seniors back and be a part of that recognition is huge. And obviously we accomplished something last year that we had been trying to do for years, and that was win the regular season and the tournament in the same year, and we were able to accomplish that and had a very successful year. So I love that they're going to be able to come back, be a part of that, and recognize them for all their efforts and what they've given to Coyote Volleyball.
This program continues to have a great following. People are excited. I know there'll be a good crowd here in this building. What's your message to the fans to just make sure they spend the time to come out and see this team in action right here in Vermillion?
Well, first, I know there's a lot of people that are excited already to be able to see us in person. And we actually had some people travel down to Missouri to watch us play as well and stayed after the football game. And that's huge for us, just to be able to continue to create those relationships and see the support that we do have. But, we're excited to be back at home where it's a little bit easier for our fans to get here now and watch. And, the biggest thing is we play for them. We talk about it all the time, and our players want to play in front of people. They want to play for people. They want to play in a great environment. And Coyote Nation has done that for us these last few years and have absolutely been a part of our success. So hoping people can come back out again and continue that tradition of having a great place to play.
Well, have a great week, and good luck this week. I know it's exciting for the home openers, and it'll be a lot of fun, so have a great week.
Thank you.
All right, that's head coach Leanne Williamson joining us to talk Coyote Volleyball. Also, a big thanks to Madison Harms for joining the Coyote Volleyball Show as well. I'm John Thayer. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week. Talk more Coyote Volleyball right here on the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee. The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.